Welcome to the Tim Booker channel where wisdom is worth spreading. Wishing you a pleasant listening experience. Today, we're going to share a book titled Antifragile. The author of this book is none other than the renowned Nassim Nicholas Taleb, who is considered one of the greatest thinkers of our time. He has written many well-known books, including The Black Swan and Fooled by Randomness, as well as the book we're discussing today, Antifragile. All of Taleb's works revolve around a common theme: how to deal with uncertainty. In our lives, there are many uncertain factors that can lead to unexpected chaos and setbacks. The question of how to handle uncertainty has been Taleb's continuous focus. He regards Antifragile as a significant contribution to his exploration of uncertainty. Daniel Kahneman, the author of Thinking, Fast and Slow, after reading this book, stated that it changed his perspective on how the world operates. Let's delve into how this book explains the world's operating model and what tools it offers for our future survival. Let's start with the title itself, Antifragile. If these three words sound unfamiliar or puzzling, that's intentional, as Taleb coined this term himself. But why did he create this word? What does it mean, and what problem does it address? The answer lies in the subtitle of the book, Gaining from Disorder. The concept of antifragility is designed to describe how we can benefit from uncertainty. This is the topic we'll be discussing today, consisting of three main parts. First, what is uncertainty? Second, how do we respond to uncertainty, with two contrasting approaches? And third, what is the essence of antifragility, and how can we apply it to our lives? These are the three topics we'll explore today. Let's take them one by one. First of all, what is uncertainty? Why should we care about benefiting from uncertainty? This involves a matter of perspective. Most people view life in this world as an incremental progression day by day, but the worldview of uncertainty tells us, no, no, no. This world is fundamentally driven by uncertainty, sudden changes, one unexpected event after another. These so-called surprises, this supposed uncertainty, actually occur more frequently and substantially than we realize. Due to various reasons, we remain unaware of their existence. Within this uncertainty lies the unpredictable, low-probability events that have significant impacts on us once they occur. The author calls them black swans. He explains how uncertain events unfold and why we fail to detect them. In simple terms, we hold a misconception about our understanding of the world. We assume that this world is primarily deterministic, with occasional uncertain accidents. Our response to these accidents is typically a state of helplessness. For example, we're going about our lives just fine, and suddenly a plane crashes into the World Trade Center, as in the 9/11 incident. This is an unforeseeable accident that we can only face and accept. Similarly, while at school or work, when we're working late into the night and suddenly experience a power outage, it's another accident. We're left with no choice but to accept it. You've probably seen news reports like this: a family of 3 living harmoniously until one day, due to an unforeseen event, the father loses his ability to work, and the entire family faces financial hardships. The father's accident was unexpected, and he can only seek help from others. This is how most of us think. We focus on doing our job and fulfilling our responsibilities. If we encounter accidents, we consider it bad luck. However, the author tells us that when faced with unexpected uncertainty, we don't have to be completely powerless. Not only can we reduce the harm caused by uncertainty, but we can also benefit from it. This is the second point the author mentions: how do we face uncertainty? There are two approaches, the traditional old way and the new approach proposed by the author. Let's first look at the traditional approach. When most people encounter accidents, the conventional method is to enhance preventive measures. We study what caused the significant losses due to the accident, then speculate on the worst-case scenarios to prepare for them. For example, after the 9/11 incident, the United States strengthened security measures for tall buildings and enhanced air traffic control. Security systems were upgraded, and more budget was allocated to intelligence systems, all to prevent a recurrence of such a severe event. We all hope to have better predictive abilities or higher resistance when bad things happen. This approach is not exclusive to the aftermath of 9/11. Thousands of years ago, the ancient Egyptians arranged post-flood engineering defenses based on the highest water levels of the Nile. Similarly, when the Japanese were constructing nuclear reactors for power plants, they based their designs on historical records of the most powerful earthquakes. In the financial sector, people analyze the worst economic recessions, the most devastating wars, the most adverse interest rate fluctuations, and the lowest unemployment rates in history to analyze the worst possible scenarios for future finance. This approach has a professional term in finance: stress testing. Looking at the practices mentioned above, the goal is to prevent upcoming accidents and preemptively patch all vulnerabilities. However, as former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan stated in his congressional apology, the 2008 financial crisis was unprecedented. Regardless of the preparation made, you will always encounter more unexpected situations in the face of accidents. There's a contradiction people often overlook: every time our worst accidents occur, they surpass the worst situations that history has witnessed. Yet, our approach to accidents is centered around preventing the worst conditions. This presents a logical problem. The desire to enhance our preventive ability by plugging holes and equipping ourselves with better capabilities when accidents occur doesn't genuinely assist us in dealing with the risks brought by uncertainty. To more effectively cope with uncertainty, we must learn from nature. Taleb believes that nature and fragility, like Greenspan's cautious preparation for things that have never occurred, are not the same. Nature always prepares for things that have never happened, yet it's capable of taking preventative measures in advance. This ability is what Taleb refers to as antifragility. Our traditional approach relies on predicting risks, which is fragile. Fragility is afraid of disturbance, it fears turmoil. On the other hand, antifragility embraces disturbance. The more you shake it, the stronger it becomes. Whatever doesn't kill it only makes it more robust. So, a characteristic of antifragility is that it benefits even in situations that surpass imagination. Therefore, from an anti-fragile perspective, the focus isn't on the traditional view of how to predict and prevent accidents. Antifragility is an entirely new perspective. Its philosophy acknowledges that the worst things are bound to happen, and we focus directly on how to respond to them after they occur. Look at how nature handles various unexpected uncertainties. Its approach is layer upon layer of redundancy. In other words, at different stages and levels of a system, there are backups. Consider the richness of genes, the diversity of species, and the complexity of ecosystems on Earth. Even if nuclear weapons were to obliterate much of life on Earth, it wouldn't wipe out all life. Some rodents or bacteria might eventually emerge from somewhere, perhaps from the depths of the sea, and the story of Earth would start anew, just without us. Nature has granted us many seemingly unnecessary redundant backups, and it is precisely this redundancy that allows us to function when faced with unforeseen circumstances. Many people perceive redundancy as wasteful. Of course, if no accidents occur, redundancy might indeed seem wasteful. However, when accidents happen, this waste becomes very meaningful, valuable even. However, accidents tend to occur. For example, if, as a precaution, you store a lot of grain or fertilizer at home, and suddenly the regions that produce these goods experience turmoil, causing shortages, you can sell these stockpiles at a high price. Or if you have extra oil reserves, you can profit during an oil shortage. The benefit redundancy provides in times of accidents may seem wasteful and inefficient when everything is fine, but over the long term, it could be efficient and useful. Here, we can see that antifragility and fragility are two entirely opposite ways of thinking. Fragility hopes to avoid accidents and maintain certainty, stable arrangements, and the ability to plan production, organize work, and achieve maximum efficiency in such circumstances. However, life inevitably throws various accidents our way: traffic jams, floods, adverse weather, rampant diseases, and more. When these accidents occur, our previously most efficient plans become the least efficient ways of coping. Therefore, the antonym of fragility isn't strength, but antifragility. The true essence of antifragility is that the life models we design should not only remain undamaged in the face of various unforeseen situations but should also gain additional benefits from them. This is what antifragility is. The critical question is, since accidents caused by uncertainty are inevitable, how can we benefit from them? The solution is to establish antifragility. This brings us to the core concept of antifragility: nonlinearity. Nonlinearity refers to outcomes that are not proportionate or evenly spaced, unlike linear responses. Instead, their results are often hard to directly estimate. For example, the effect of taking 2 pills isn't merely twice as potent as taking one, it could be much stronger or weaker. If a half-pound stone hits your head and a 2-pound stone does, the damage won't be a simple fourfold increase, it could be significantly more severe. The half-pound stone might only require a couple of stitches, whereas the 2-pound stone hitting you might not be solvable with just 8 stitches. Hence, nonlinear effects create an asymmetric relationship between cause and consequence. About this point, let's go back to the time of Socrates, to an era when a renowned philosopher and mathematician named Thales lived. Thales was a typical scholar who was financially constrained and lacked money. He had a friend who often mocked him, saying that those with talents were engaged in business while only those lacking skills pursued philosophical studies. Thales was infuriated upon hearing this, and he did something quite astonishing. He personally invested a small sum as a down payment and acquired the seasonal rights to all the olive oil presses in his city at a very low rental fee. As a result, in the second year, there was a bountiful harvest of olives locally, causing a significant increase in demand for the olive oil presses. At this point, Thales instructed the owners of the presses to lease them at the prices he specified. This turned out to be highly profitable, and after making a substantial profit, Thales returned to his philosophical pursuits. So, how does this story relate to what we've been discussing about antifragility? Traditionally, the explanation was that Thales, being knowledgeable in astronomy, predicted a bountiful harvest for the second year due to his understanding of the winter season. Therefore, he reached a conclusion that knowledge equates to money. But Taleb disagrees, asserting that this interpretation overlooks a genuinely important issue. What matters is that Thales designed a nonlinear effect, creating an asymmetry between cause and consequence. Going back to Thales and the olive presses, when he signed the contract with the press owners, he paid them a sum of money to purchase the usage rights for pressing oil in the spring of the second year. When the second year arrived, he had the option to use the presses or not, it was his right, not an obligation. Conversely, the sellers, having received Thales' payment, were obligated, not entitled. They only had the right to profit from the down payment if Thales didn't want the machines. In other words, Thales achieved the right to potentially gain significant profits with a very low cost. The phenomenon of expending minimal effort for the potential to gain substantial returns is called asymmetry. This asymmetry in costs and potential returns is what allows our actions to have a disproportionately amplified effect. Changing something just a little can magnify the outcome by many times on the other side. For instance, between 2004 and 2007, there was only a 1% deficit in international wheat production, yet prices soared by a staggering 200%. This is an example of a tiny cost resulting in the possibility of tremendous returns through asymmetry. Leveraging nonlinearity-induced asymmetry potentially allows us to use this principle to tackle various uncertainties. In other words, if, before unexpected events and uncertainties occur in life, we can purchase the right to obtain substantial returns at a low cost after the event occurs, then we possess antifragility to deal with such uncertainties. For example, if you are the primary source of economic income in your family, acquiring disability insurance at a minimal cost provides you with resistance after losing your ability to work, safeguarding your family's financial situation. Life is filled with all sorts of unexpected occurrences, and we cannot predict which of these might trigger another unexpected event even sooner. However, what's important is not accurately judging the probability of these events occurring. In fact, we have no way to precisely determine probabilities, nor is it necessary. What truly matters is analyzing which unexpected events could have significant impacts. We should focus on those events that have the potential to bring about substantial consequences and take anti-fragile measures to address them. That's the key. So, how can we establish our own anti-fragile system in our lives? The author provides 3 recommended steps: reducing fragility, employing barbell strategies, and engaging in rational aggressive action. These steps are generally progressive in nature. The first step is to reduce fragility by decreasing exposure to adverse outcomes. This means minimizing the probability of being exposed to fatal risks, such as those negative black swan events. For individuals, one simple way to reduce fragility is to avoid engaging in high-risk industries. For a company, reducing fragility entails ensuring its survival first. Decisions made by entrepreneurs must prioritize the company's continued existence, avoiding risky choices that could potentially lead to catastrophic consequences. This principle might seem straightforward, but in the realm of startups seeking funding, many companies appear to have forgotten that the primary step for a company is to survive. Similar to a cup that shatters upon hitting the ground, it's difficult to restore a system once it's destroyed. Without the existence of the system, there's no point in discussing establishing anti-fragility. Hence, it's imperative to subtract from our lives, eliminating those fragile risks. Interestingly, fragility itself is also nonlinear, meaning it exhibits asymmetry. However, its asymmetry is the opposite of the asymmetry seen in anti-fragility. The capacity for anti-fragility involves spending minimal cost for potentially substantial gains, whereas the asymmetry of fragility implies limited potential benefits but the possibility of massive losses in case of an accident. The most famous example is the 2008 financial crisis when numerous investment banks in the United States insured potentially high-risk, bad assets for small profits. Later, when extreme events they deemed highly unlikely occurred, the cost they had to bear was nearly infinite. During that period, countless banks, failing to manage fragility properly, went bankrupt. Reflect on how even elites, such as those able to enter investment banking, didn't realize the importance of reducing fragility. It's easy to understand that for most of us, restraining ourselves and re-evaluating the low-yield, high-risk actions we've taken in the past is of utmost importance. For instance, becoming a coal miner might yield high wages, but in case of an accident, the consequences are irreversible. The key is to avoid fatal risks to reduce the probability of being exposed to fatal danger. Then we move on to the second step, which is using the barbell strategy to enhance anti-fragility. In fact, the barbell strategy is what the author believes to be the solution to all uncertainties. So, what is the barbell strategy? Imagine a barbell with heavy weights at both ends. For us, these represent extreme scenarios, extremely positive and extremely negative situations. Both need our attention, while the middle ground, the realm of mediocrity, should be ignored. For example, in the investment process, you can secure 90% of your assets safely, perhaps by keeping them in a bank or at home, ensuring the principal is preserved. The remaining 10% can be invested in high-risk areas, where the potential rewards are also high. Even if your investments fail, the maximum loss is just 10%. However, if successful, your gains could be limitless. Yet, most people's investments tend to linger in the moderate risk and moderate reward zone. When you invest all your money in a medium risk area, it's actually impossible to shield yourself against occasional catastrophic disasters. When problems arise in this zone, the cost can be devastating. This barbell strategy can be applied across various aspects of our lives. For instance, in our reading habits, you can choose to read both broadly in entertainment magazines or newspapers and also delve into the best and most profound books or complex works. However, you should avoid reading mediocre books. You can engage in conversations with both lower-level college students, taxi drivers, and ordinary people, as well as with top scholars and outstanding individuals, but steer clear of interactions with those who are pretentious and unproductive. All these examples emphasize that through the barbell strategy, we can reduce the pain caused by adverse events while ensuring the potential for significant gains. In other words, we need to find a way to avoid exposing ourselves to the negative black swan world and simultaneously position ourselves within the realm of positive black swan effects. Of course, the precondition is to prevent exposing ourselves to a world that can be destructively catastrophic. Once this step is achieved, we enhance our ability to prevent errors and even benefit from unexpected situations. If you want to take it a step further and be more proactive in seeking greater benefits, you can try the third step, the proactive rational trial and error approach. What does that mean? Building upon the foundation of the barbell strategy, you can find ways to increase your chances of positive black swan events occurring. Of course, whether a black swan event will happen is uncertain, but through conscious trial and error, you can enhance the probability. The book provides an example of a captain named Stedham, who was skilled at salvaging long-lost shipwrecks. In 2007, he discovered a Spanish frigate from 1804, worth around $1 billion today. How did he find this valuable ship? He placed himself in a situation where a positive black swan event could occur. The act of discovering such a high-value sunken ship itself is a positive black swan event. However, these events have a very low probability of occurring. So, how can we benefit from such situations? Stedham employed the method of rational trial and error. For instance, he analyzed the regions where shipwrecks might occur and divided them into small grids. In each grid, he marked the probability of finding a shipwreck. Then he devised a search plan to ensure that he only moved to the next area with a lower probability of success once the highest probability area had been searched. By focusing on the highest probability areas first and then progressively moving to less probable ones, he increased his chances of success. He used this method to discover numerous underwater treasures. Essentially, this is what the author refers to as the rational trial and error approach. Similar to the captain, you validate your core assumptions by first conducting experiments on a smaller scale. For instance, in a startup context, there's a concept called the minimum viable product (MVP). Most entrepreneurs are initially motivated by a brilliant idea, like placing an automatic chicken frying machine in subway stations to provide fresh juice. Envisioning that with millions of people using the subway daily, even if only 10% purchase the juice, it seems like a great idea. The excitement may lead them to invest heavily in the venture. However, they fail to realize that they're committing a large amount of capital to a high-risk area. A wiser approach is to prevent getting trapped in a situation where you're risking everything, yet you still want to become the next great innovator. The solution is the proactive rational trial and error method. Similar to the captain, validate your core hypothesis first. For instance, if you intend to sell juice in the subway, rather than developing an automatic juice machine initially, you could take your personal juice machine to the subway and sell juice manually. If people buy, you proceed with the next step, like developing an automated vending machine. This approach limits your initial investment and allows you to progressively validate and refine your idea, increasing the likelihood of success. Summing up the book's core ideas, first, we should recognize the misconception that the world is mostly normal and that black swan events are rare exceptions. In reality, the impact of rare, unexpected events can be significant. Therefore, rather than focusing on avoiding and preventing such events, we should aim to use them to our advantage. By increasing antifragility, we can invest with a small cost that has the potential for significant gains when unexpected events occur. The key to achieving this is through 3 steps. First, avoid exposing yourself to the negative black swan world by minimizing engagement in low-reward, high-cost areas. Second, apply the barbell strategy to build antifragility by investing in both safe and high-risk areas. Finally, if you want to go even further, actively and rationally experiment within the realm of positive black swan events, increasing your probability of success while controlling the cost of failure. Lastly, the books Antifragile and The Black Swan are both classic works on uncertainty. Each book has its own focus. The Black Swan mainly discusses the phenomenon and principles, providing a brief overview of solutions. Antifragile, on the other hand, offers a more in-depth and systematic exploration of uncertainty after the concept of the black swan. It not only delves deeper into understanding uncertainty but also provides more clarity on the solutions. The author himself suggests that while The Black Swan may have gained more fame earlier, it's essentially a memo for Antifragile. Reading Antifragile and then revisiting The Black Swan offers a different perspective. Congratulations, you've just completed another book. Thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share with your family and friends. Wisdom is worth sharing, as it paves the way for a brighter future. Thank you and goodbye.